do video.
Yeah, streaming is always video and audio. You need to look at many things. But yeah, I can imagine that running a podcast like Smashing Security is also not an easy job to do.
Oh, it's a piece of cake. Load of old rubbish.
Well, yeah. Welcome everyone. Welcome to another amazing question answer session. Now today we have the only one Smashing Security hero that those who are listening to Smashing Security, I think you will know his voice. So yeah, say hi to each other.
Hello everybody.
And yeah, today we will have another questions. So let's start with the first one. And this is a question that just pops my mind. Your voice. Do you use a program for your voice, or is that really your actual voice? Because it's so, I don't know. It's so, it's nice to hear your voice, and it's always
Really?
nice to hear. When I'm in the train and I'm listening to Smashing Security, it's all. I have always the feeling you must be using some kind of voice change program that can be your real voice.
Well, tell you what, I'll say a random word. Also, you think it's changing my voice in real time? So if I was to say Pomplamoose or something, or dial it up to 11 or something like that, it's no. This is my real voice. This is the voice I'm afraid I was born with. I don't think it's very impressive as a voice. It's just a regular voice. I guess I'm like everybody else. I hear my voice and I sort of cringe. When there are people with much better voices than me. Have you ever heard a podcast called The Cyberwire, or one called Hacking Humans with Dave Bittner?
Yeah.
His voice is like Casey Kasem. His voice is like a professional DJ. Is like well, hello everybody, and welcome to the cybersecurity show. You know, that's a truly impressive radio voice. But no, you're very kind. All I can say is no one has ever complimented me before on my podcast voice. So it's great that you think at least that maybe there's a program that's doing it for me.
Well, yeah, I think you were born to be doing Smashing Security. It's a gift for you. I mean, for you, given by you, given to us. That's what I mean.
Well, you're very, very kind. I don't know whether there's an advantage in being English. There's not much advantage in being English these days, but as we know, but there was a time when people would think that if you have an English accent, you must be more educated, or you must know what you're talking about, and at least English people tried to trick themselves into believing that was true. So, but I don't think that's true anymore, based upon events in the last few years.
I think I cannot argue with that. I have no idea. I'm not from England, but I really love to listen to Smashing Security. I always it's a nice show.
Oh, good man.
And
so where are you based? Where are you in the world?
I'm in the Netherlands.
Oh, excellent.
So
cool.
It's we have a lockdown right now, so there's not much to do. So I hope we can soon go back to our normal life and visit conference and that kind of things.
It's been going on an awfully long time, and of course here in England and in the UK we've got a horrendous lockdown. We're now on our third complete and utter lockdown. You can get in trouble if you walk too far away from your house, to be honest. So it's pretty grim, isn't it? But
yeah,
let's hope in the coming months things get a bit better.
Yeah, it's a weird time right now. Let's hope in the future it will all be back to normal. But
the fantastic thing is that we've got the internet, right? If this horrendous pandemic had happened 25 years ago,
oh my God,
we would have been dialing up on cranky. Everyone would have gone out and bought one of those ancient old acoustic couplers and got an old-fashioned modem. And you wouldn't be able to make a phone call at the same time as you were on the internet. Can you imagine what it would have been like? So.
I can imagine it. Families playing Monopoly, if you know Monopoly. I can, and then they are fighting each other because someone wins and the other can't. Yeah, he cannot win, so you think, oh my god, and he throws the plate right out of the window, like, oh god damn it, I'm done with this. That's how I imagine a life without internet.
There's an awful lot of stress on many people. Many people are suffering, but at least we have Netflix box sets to watch to distract ourselves from the humans we may be locked up with.
Yeah, Netflix is really... they are doing a really great job lately. They are releasing plenty new shows. I see, and every week there's something new. So yeah, business is going well for them, I think, with this.
And Amazon, of course, who are delivering all of our goods to our houses. We know we're not huge fans of Amazon for various reasons, but by Jiminy, they've done an awfully good lots. The thing about Netflix, though, and these TV series is, what new TV series are there going to be to watch in 9 months' time? Because presumably most of these TV shows aren't being made anymore. I think there are some being made, but an awful lot aren't. Or they're taking an awful lot longer to make. So.
Yeah, I have been watching so many shows now that I are already waiting for season 2 for like a year or more than a year. I think, okay, when is coming season 2? But then this virus came. So yeah, but well, welcome to the show, and let's go to the first question, the original first question. I don't know if this is fit to you, but if you do hacking, do you remember when your first hack was?
Well, what is hacking? I mean, what I've never done anything that naughty, right? Because even from a young age, and I first got into computers in, I think, 1981. 1981! Yeah. So 40 years ago was when my dad first brought a computer home to our house, and I started programming. There was no internet then. There weren't even bulletin boards to dial up to. There was no way of connecting my computer to a telephone line or anything like that. Although I've never done any malicious hacking or particularly naughty stuff, probably the closest stuff which I'd like to admit to was I remember in the early days. In the early days, I was at college, and there was a lot of people talking about computer viruses, though no one had really seen a computer virus. But there was a lot of rumors, there's a virus, there's a virus. And I wrote some joke programs, some memory resident joke programs, which did things on the screen, which some people thought were rather like the payloads of viruses. So the one, a lot of people may remember a virus called Cascade, which dropped letters down your screen like dropping rainfall and raindrops. So I wrote a joke program which did that after a certain amount of time, and some people might have thought that was a virus. But the one I really remember was a program I wrote called a drunk simulator, and it would run in the background on your computer, and as you were typing, it would add letters randomly. So if you were writing something which had, for instance, S at the end of the word, it would change it to SSH, not SSH as we know it now, but a sort of sh sound. So you would be talking about sausages. So it would sound like you were writing drunk. And every now and then it would randomly insert the word hic like that. So you would be typing on your computer and you'd be thinking, why am I typing like a drunk person? And I did put that on some of my fellow students' computers. So it didn't transmit itself. It wasn't viral. It was a joke program. I did some things like that, and did a few other things, but nothing that
bad.
Malicious. So I'm not one of these guys, and I'm pleased actually that I never did anything bad like that, because I got into the computer security industry early, working for an antivirus company. Dr. Solomon's was the first antivirus company I worked for, where I was a programmer, and they had a very strict policy of, if you've ever written a virus or something like that, you are not going to get a job with them, because of course that was the conspiracy theory that everybody had, which was that the antivirus companies were writing the malware. The truth is we didn't need to write the malware, because there were plenty of people doing it for us for free. You know, we don't need more malware. You know, there was loads of kids, as it were, then writing the malware. You know. But it's changed a lot over the years.
Well, thank you for answering that question. Did people like your college friends? Did they also throw their computers out of the window because they think, "My God, this thing is not working. I am typing, and this is not what I am typing. Please help me, someone."
Well, I would never let it get that far. And it was normally done on the college computers as well, so they'd get in a bit of trouble if they were to do that. But of course, that's one of the problems with joke programs is sometimes people can overreact and assume something has happened which is much worse than what has really happened. And we still see that today, not just with joke programs, but also with false alarms. So when a piece of antivirus software, for instance, makes a mistake, or we also saw it with hoaxes. Hoaxes still spread today, telling people if you receive a message which says, you know, subject good times or something like this, people can be duped and scammed and hoaxed and make very bad decisions. And I think that's something which we in the cyber security, I've mentioned the word cyber, I don't know if that's a good thing or not. We in the computer security business can do our bit to raise awareness and help people who may be less technical than ourselves.
Yeah, I think you are totally right. Yeah, we can of course scream and run around the company, say help, help, virus is triggering. But I think yes, our job is to help them and tell them that please do not throw your PC out of the window. Please don't do. It's nothing that worse. We can fix it.
The number one rule that when you get infected by a piece of malware, the thing we used to say to people, the most important thing of all is not to panic, because if you panic, you make a bad decision. And you're going to make mistakes. So maybe make yourself a nice cup of tea or coffee and then decide, okay, what are we going to do about this? So don't just blindly panic, because you may make the situation actually worse than it really is.
Yeah, I think that is a great advice. For those who are listening, take a cup of coffee or tea and relax. Sit behind your computer and watch all the errors going through your screen and think, oh my God, I'm drinking my tea.
It's still important, you know, don't get too relaxed. Don't go and have a nap for 20 minutes, you know, and have a lie down, you know, but, you know, just don't do anything too rash.
Perhaps a nap can be useful too in some way for you, not the computer, but yeah. But yeah, thank you for answering that question. And it's really great that you are already in the industry for that long. I was not even born in 1991, so yeah, I don't know what it was then. But yeah, you also mentioned that you were on college. Did you learn most of the things in college, or did you learn more things by watching YouTube or reading books or doing or following courses?
Yeah, well, YouTube didn't exist back then, but I was self-taught as a programmer, so I learned how to program at home, and in those days, what you did was you used to type in source code from magazines. So magazines would print out thousands and thousands of lines of a program, and you would type it in. You would hope that you typed it correctly, because it was often printed really, really small, and over time, through osmosis, you learned how these programs worked, and you would change the programs. And I began writing computer games. And in fact, that's how I entered the computer security industry. Is I used to write computer games, and I used to sell them as shareware. And at the end of the games, it used to play the tune from Love Story, da 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 dum, da 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 dum, da 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 dum da dum, because my girlfriend at the time was studying in Paris, and I was a poor, impoverished student, and so I used that emotional blackmail. I displayed a message at the end of my game saying, if you enjoyed my game, send me £5, £10, and a packet of cheesy biscuits, and then I'll be able to afford and go and visit her. And one day I received a parcel on my doorstep from Alan Solomon containing a copy of Dr. Solomon's Antivirus Toolkit and a packet of cheesy biscuits and a cheque for £20, which is more than I asked for. And he said, if you want a job, let me know. And that's how I began my journey as in the computer security industry. And he hired me, I think it was in 1991 or 1992. And at that time, I knew a little bit about viruses because I was on mailing lists which talked about computer viruses, but I was basically a programmer, and I wrote the first version of Dr. Solomon's Antivirus Toolkit for Windows, which was a relatively new operating system then. And yeah, I sort of ported the DOS version of the antivirus scanner to Windows, and I worked there for some years. But yeah, so I'm mostly self-taught, and I think I also learned a fair bit just working in the industry, just looking at my colleagues, people like Alan Solomon, people at Sophos, which is where I moved to in about, I think in the year 2000 or 1999, I went there. And from those sort of people and their expertise and being around those kind of people, that's where I learnt the craft, if it is a craft.
Yeah, it's really amazing what you have done back then when you first accepted your first official job. And yeah, it sounded to me that you have a small buy me coffee thing, but they have now on their websites that you are doing that back then. So buy me coffee, send me $5 or $10. But
the amazing thing then was people weren't on the internet. So if people wanted to give me any money or say they liked the game, they actually had to write out a check and put it in an envelope and write my address on the front of the envelope and put a stamp on the envelope and go down to a post box and post it. And I often think, man, I could have made so much more money if there'd just been a button to press in my game which took you to PayPal or something, or integrate Stripe, or that would have been fantastic. But that simply wasn't available. So it was a very manual, laborious process, and then I would obviously write back to people and say thank you very much and give them some goodies in response. But yeah, it was great that people did it, and there's some people who still like those games, so I still get some emails about some of those games. Even now. In particular, I wrote a couple of text adventure games, and those are the ones which really proved popular with people.
It's really interesting, the story. And if I may ask, did you receive a lot of money back then for your games? Like many players played it? I don't know if you know that.
Yeah, well, it's hard to tell how many people were playing them, but I was lucky in so much as my games got on the front of magazines, popular computer magazines in the UK, where they used to stick a floppy disk on the front of the magazine containing some games.
Ah, that's nice.
And those magazines had an awful lot of readers. So I was receiving, through the post, between about 20 and 30 letters every day from people who liked, at the height, when I was at college. So I was I was doing all right. I hope the tax man doesn't watch this. But yeah, it was. But for a student, it was, this was 30 years ago. It was quite decent. Yeah.
Did you live with your roommate, or did you live alone in a student building, or?
I went to college in Bristol, which is in the west of England, and I was sharing an old house with a few other people. So there were some other students who were living in the house as well, who weren't getting as much post.
Yeah, I can imagine that they were thinking like, man, no Graham again. No, it's Graham, guys. Yeah. No, don't worry, leave it for Graham. It's him again.
Yeah, exactly. It was a bizarre experience, but it was good fun. And I was doing a computer course at the college. Basically, I failed most of my exams at the end of school, which meant that it took me a little bit longer to get to college, and I ended up doing computing at college because it was what I found easy. I found programming easy compared to the things I really wanted to do, which were things like English literature. It was a fun time, I suppose.
Yeah, I can imagine that you coming from home and there's a bunch of postcards laying in front of the door, and you think, Oh, it's time again, guys. It's time again.
Yeah, but it was also a nuisance because I also said to people who were playing my adventure games, I said, if you get stuck at any point, you can write to me, including a self-addressed envelope, a stamped addressed envelope, and I will write back to you and tell you how to get past the puzzle. So basically there was a tech support element, and I didn't charge any extra for that. But the number of letters I got from people who were stuck in my games was astonishing. So it took a fair amount of time to deal with it, but it was good fun.
Yeah, I can totally imagine it. And did your homework suffer because of all those writing and yeah? Yeah, okay,
Well,
that's a yes.
I mean, it was computers easy anyway. So I mean, I found computing was something that was quite natural to me, and programming was quite easy for me, and I think that's why I took the course, because most of it was fairly simple. The things which I would find a drag would be writing an essay or something. If you had to do that, or there was an element in the course which was all about accounts, and you had to learn about accounts. And it's like, seriously, we have to learn about accounts? Not as in user accounts. I mean financial accounts.
Yeah.
I didn't explain that very well. And that had no interest for me whatsoever. But you've still got to pass those sort of exams.
I'm really it's a really great story that you went through, and it's really nice to see that you started so young, and you were really a big name in the game industry back then.
I don't know if I was a big name. I don't know if I was a big name, but I was doing all right. My little corner.
They knew you at least. But thank you for giving an answer to all those questions. Now for the next question. You are having Smashing Security. I don't know if you are the owner or if it is an cooperative business, like you are working with other people. But how is it to have such big podcasts? As I know, Smashing Security has already won some awards for best security podcast 2018 or 17, I believe it was. So how does it feel, and how is it to running such big podcast?
Oh, it's the most fun thing I do. It's terrific. So you're right. So Smashing Security is a podcast which I co-host with my friend Carol Terrio. So we sort of own it 50-50, and it's just enormous fun because we can have a conversation and we invite people on from the world of computer security, and we talk about what's been happening in the last week. And it's just like chatting to your friends, really, down the pub, if you remember going to pubs or going to bars, if anyone remembers that. But we
long time ago.
we try and make it fun. And there's lots of great security podcasts out there. Some really fun ones, all coming from different angles. So I'd recommend that even if you don't like Smashing Security, do go and check out some of the other podcasts out there. I just love podcasts, and Carol, who co-hosts the show with me, for years she was saying to me, we should do a podcast, and I was reluctant and dragging my feet, and then eventually I said yes, and so we started doing it, and we've now been doing it for, I think we're in our 5th year now.
That's a long time.
So we've been doing it since 2016, and it's over the course of that time and we do it weekly. We've grown a listenership, and it's going quite well. And there is nothing more exciting than being somewhere and maybe giving a talk in person, and someone comes up to you after the talk and says, "Oh, by the way, I really like your podcast." And it's like, wow. Here we are in South Africa or wherever it is that you're giving a talk, and people say, "Yeah, we listen to your podcast," and it's a lovely feeling. So it's good fun. We've got a great community of listeners.
Yeah, I think Smashing Security is really a great podcast. Of course, you guys won an award for the best security podcast already. So that already shows to many people like, whoa, Smashing Security is really a great podcast. And for those who haven't listened to Smashing Security, I would advise you to do, as they always cover relevant topics. You guys are always publishing new episodes on Thursday, I believe, every Thursday.
That's right, every Thursday. Yeah, we'll be recording one tomorrow for this Thursday. So we try and keep to a regular routine. I think that's important. If you are doing a podcast and you want it to be a success, you need momentum, and people need to get into the rhythm of when they listen to the podcast. So maybe it's when they take the dog for the walk, or maybe it's when they do their washing up after their evening meal. So we release our podcast at the same time, the same day of the week, every single week. We just take a couple of weeks off over the Christmas holidays. But other than that, we keep on doing it. I mean, our podcast is a bit of a joke, to be honest. I mean, because it's very lighthearted. If you want detailed, technical registry keys and talking about all the nerdy stuff, we are not the podcast for you, because we like to be more fun than that. But there's some good technical podcasts out there as well for those people who want that. But we try and be a podcast for everybody.
I think you guys do really a great job by being podcast for everyone. You guys do not speak too technical, and also, I sometimes also do not know everything. Of course, I can't know everything in info security. So some terms or terminology, I don't mean what you are referring to, but in the story you guys tell it, I always think, wait, okay, they are talking about that. Okay, I know it. I can follow it. So, you guys do really a great job. So definitely continue with that.
Thank you. Thank you. And we always try and put show notes in and links. So if you want to read more about a particular thing which has happened, you can go and research more inside the show notes for that particular episode.
Thank you. That's a great advice. But how do you guys get your news? Like, I can imagine that in 1 week there's so much things happening on the internet and in the info security. Every hour or every 2 hours, something is happening. There's always happening something. So, how do you guys filter out the relevant news items and removing the ones that you think, this one is not interesting, so please leave it.
It's an interesting challenge, because sometimes something so big happens that you think, we have to talk about this, we have to mention it at least a little, even if every other blog and every other podcast is likely to have spoken about it as well. I mean, that's the thing. If everyone else is talking about it, is it the right thing for us to talk about? And so we will debate that before the show, should we really be doing it? But I think these days, the podcast has changed over the last 4 or 5 years. And I think these days, something which influences us a lot is this a fun story? Is this something which makes us laugh? Is there an unusual... Because it would be dull just to say, there's been another data breach at blah, 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 or this company's been hit by ransomware again and they didn't have backups.
SolarWinds.
Or there's an Amazon bucket which has been left unsecured, and so people have been able to scoop up the data. It's a big deal, we've heard all this before. So we try and find the more quirky, unusual stories sometimes which people may have missed, or just something where we can have a bit of fun about. And it's like I said, it's like friends down the bar. It's what do you talk to them about? Do you talk to them about boring stuff, or do you talk to them about stuff which is going to make your friends laugh? So
gives you a special feeling.
It's serious in its intent, and we're trying to... I think an important part of computer security education is to entertain as well, because that's how you grab people's brains, and you begin to get the message through. So there are serious messages there, but we try and have fun in the way in which we tell it.
Well, thank you for answering that question. I have listened to your podcast many times, and I was really watching in my own. Not loud in the train, of course, but how much time do you spend on preparing a podcast before you actually go live or record it?
Well...
Oh no, this seems to be a funny question.
For about 3 minutes. I mean, not
3 minutes.
Not always a huge amount of preparation. We may just it may literally be the hour beforehand when we begin to decide what we're going to talk about. Most of the work goes on after the recording. So the recording itself normally takes about 45 minutes to 1 hour. And then, of course, we have to edit it. And editing can take... editing could take 3 hours, 6 hours, 9 hours. It depends on the quality of our guest's audio. We care quite a lot about the audio quality. If someone's going to have to listen to it, we want it to sound good. And it's amazing how much editing you have to do to a conversation to make it sound like a conversation that hasn't been edited. But there's actually an awful lot of editing which goes on in an episode of Smashing Security. So it may sound like 3 people sat round a table. The truth is, of course, that we're all in different locations. We can't see each other. We don't have a video link up. We're just hearing each other. And we're butting in and we're adding comments and we're arguing with each other. And then we edit it to try and make it both informative and entertaining as well. And there's sometimes a little bit of magic going on in the editing to make it more entertaining or to make sure that we're getting the message across properly. So it's actually the editing which takes time. But then we are not as edited a show as some of the other ones out there. I mean, if you listen to probably the most popular cybersecurity podcast is one called Darknet Diaries.
Yeah, I know him.
Right? Everyone's heard of Darknet Diaries. Amazing success. Well done, Jack, for doing that. He's been on our show a few times. And that's a very tightly edited, well-produced podcast. We're not in the same league as that. And we don't try to be in the same league as that. But we do a fair amount of editing to try and make the podcast at least sound reasonably slick.
Well, thank you for answering that question. Darknet Diaries is indeed also a really great podcast. I listened to both of you. Sometimes I really think after listening to his podcast, whoa, how does he get all that resources, information? How does he talk to the people? Perhaps I need to invite him too for a question. But you guys are also really doing an amazing job. And I always thought that you guys really need hours for preparation, and you guys
do. Maybe Carole prepares. She often complains that I haven't researched it, and she will do this during the podcast. She will say, "You clearly haven't researched this properly, and you clearly don't know enough about this topic." So there is an interesting dynamic going on between myself and Carole, my co-host, because although we are technically friends.
I hope she's not listening now, because then she will call you in any minute. Like, what did you say?
She knows. We're sometimes a bit like a husband and wife who maybe shouldn't be a husband and wife anymore. So we disagree, and there will be disagreements, and it's. But fundamentally, underneath it all, we kind of like each other. Maybe.
It's a great way to, of course, meet perhaps your future wife. I don't know, but it's a great way to.
No, thank you. No, she's happily married already, so I don't. No, and I'm not looking either. So no, I don't think that's the way to do. No.
Then at least
I'll leave that to the listeners to fantasize about that. But there's no future in shipping Graham and Carole together.
At least it is a great side job to keep your friendship, fairly close and well. So.
Yeah, because we worked for years and years at Sophos together. So Sophos is the company I joined after Dr. Solomon's, and she literally sat opposite me for, I don't know, maybe 10, 12, 13 years. That was obviously a very, very irritating experience, having Carole so close to me. So I thought when I left the company and she left the company that we could put an end to all that, but somehow we've ended up doing a podcast together as well. But no, I mean, but yeah, we are friends. But underneath it all, obviously, lockdown has prevented us from seeing each other. But she was the best man at my wedding, and I was her chief bridesmaid at her wedding. So we like each other outside of the show, kind of.
That's really nice that you guys are such good friends that even when you both leave a company, you still just want to do something with each other to stay friends.
I haven't been able to escape her, but we
You can always run away.
we've kind of maintained the relationship. It's just about holding together.
Hey, it's really great. I'm happy for both of you. That you are such great friends, and the end result is of course a great podcast. So you can't complain about the friendship, of course.
Yeah, and she's amazing. She's got a lot of energy. She just recently started a new podcast called Sticky Pickles, which has nothing at all to do with cybersecurity. It's all about sort of emotional and.
She's talking about pickles or not?
Yeah, well, she's talking about difficult situations and what would you do in this situation. So it's sort of relationship based, and I'll let her advertise her own podcast rather than me. But she has an incredible amount of energy about her. So she's a real asset to have on your side. So she's helped Smashing Security a huge amount.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that she's really doing so many things for the community. We definitely need those people, of course. For my next question, besides podcasting, do you also, of course you do have a job, but I don't know if you want to, but can you tell us more about the job that you do besides podcasting, red teaming or pen testing or system engineering?
So no, I don't do any of those kind of things. But I aside from the podcast, I don't program anymore. I haven't programmed for years and years. I run my own blog where I write about things which interest me from the world of computer security. So I'm sort of commentating on what's happening in the world. That's at grahamcluley.com. I'm also writing for a couple of computer security vendors for their blogs as well. So I write occasional articles for them. And the other string to my bow is I do public speaking. So companies ask me, well, not so much in the last year, but so it's more online now. But it used to be the case that I would stand up on a stage and go, "Ha, here we are. Let me tell you all about hacking gangs. Let me tell you all about how your company can get infected. Let me tell you about the things which are keeping people awake at night in terms of computer security threats and hacking and threats to your business, or how to make $1 billion through cybercrime." Some people have done. So I'm basically telling stories. I'm telling stories on the podcast. I'm telling stories on the blog, and I'm also telling stories as a public speaker, raising awareness of computer security issues. So I'm asked to keynote at conferences and things like that, and that's what I do for a living, really. Are those three things?
Yeah, it sounds as a really great job, and also a fun one, because you always are moving from place to place, and you see many people. Yeah, of course not now with COVID, but before COVID, you faced a lot of new people, and it's a really socializing job. So you always talk with people, talk to people, and it's nice to hear that that's what you do besides your podcasting. I also saw on your Twitter that you already stated in one of your answers you are already fighting cybercrime since 1990. So can you tell us, or what is your opinion from the time back then compared to the time right now? How do you see the evolving of everything that's with computer science?
It's absolutely unbelievable. The time we are living in now is pure science fiction. If I was to go back in time and tell myself in 1992 what it would be like today, I would never ever have believed it. When I started writing antivirus software for Dr. Solomon's, there were 200 new computer viruses every month.
Whoa.
And we sent out updates to our antivirus software. Most of our customers got an update to their antivirus software every 3 months, which was sent out to them via the post on a floppy disk. And if you were really paranoid, you would get a floppy disk every month. And if there was an outbreak of something new, we could, if you were really paranoid, we could fax you an update, which you would type in by hand on your computer. Absolutely unbelievable. There used to be, there still is a magazine, or I don't know, it's certainly a website. Virus Bulletin magazine used to print out, it was a monthly magazine, it used to print out signatures of viruses which you could type in every month if you wanted to be protected, which is just a ridiculous idea, to be honest. It wasn't really a very good idea at the time, but that's what they used to do. So everything's completely changed because, of course, now we see millions of new variants of malware every single day. Millions. Just in the time that we've been chatting, there would have been thousands and thousands of new pieces of malware released and attempting to infect people's computers, and it's got much more sophisticated. So there's this huge change in terms of there's much more of it, and that's really dialed up to 11. But more than that, it's also who is doing it, because it used to be kids in their back bedrooms mostly doing it to show off. There didn't used to be a financial motive. And then towards the end of the 1990s, early 2000s, we began to see criminals stealing passwords, people wanting to take over your computer to send spam and to make money that way. And of course, as we all know, now state-sponsored attacks as well. But if the thought that countries would be writing computer malware to spy on other countries was just something that, it just sounds, sounds like a Hollywood movie. It's like that is the reality of what we're living in now. So there's a lot more of it, and some of it is a great deal more sophisticated, and is obviously exploiting zero-day vulnerabilities and things like that. And it's become front page news, because everybody these days has been involved in a data breach. Everyone has had their details stolen from somewhere or other.
Yeah.
Many people, you couldn't have said to someone 20 years ago, you couldn't have mentioned the phrase identity theft, and they would have looked at you, they would have been baffled. What do you mean identity theft? It sounds like some kind of science fiction. How can my identity be stolen? But now, regular people understand what identity theft means. So this problem has become ginormous, and it's become something which potentially can impact democracy and impact governments, and obviously there's immense harm which can be done by people exploiting cybersecurity weaknesses.
And how do you think that today, the day that we are now, how do you think that antivirus software should behave? And how do you think it can be better in the future by avoiding those attacks? Or what is your opinion on it?
Well, I think antivirus software was only part of the solution even way back then. I don't think it was the entire solution, and it's certainly not the whole solution now. So you need a variety of different layers of security to protect yourself. And sure, anybody can write a piece of malware which can slip past an antivirus program, right?
Yeah.
If they're really determined to, they will be able to do it. But most of the antivirus software is getting updated regularly and does generally a pretty good job at stopping the most common stuff. It generally does. I think people who say, I'm not going to run any antivirus software, I think you would have to be extremely geeky and nerdy to survive. And I've encountered in my time well-known names in the antivirus industry who have accidentally got themselves infected. Even though all of they know about malware, they still made mistakes and got infected. So I run antivirus software on all of my computers because I view it as an additional layer of security. I don't trust myself enough to never, ever make a mistake. So I think it's important to run antivirus software, and I do think it's come on an awful long way in the last 30, 40 years from what it used to be, and it continues to get more sophisticated. But it's not the 100% solution, but I don't think anyone serious was ever suggesting it was. Maybe the marketing people did, but the techie people didn't ever believe this is it. This is the solution.
This is the 100% 100% safe way.
Yeah, it's just nonsense. So, but, marketing people like to say that, don't they?
Yeah. Well, you know what they say, the humans are always the weakness links in companies. There's always someone who accidentally click on a mail where they got infected, and from there it spreads around the company. So, I don't know how we are going to, or let me ask it different. How do you think we can protect those weaknesses better in the future? Or what? Yeah.
Well, to this day, the biggest threat for most computer users is coming in through email, be it malicious links or malicious email attachments. It's not as though things have enormously changed. Fundamentally, an email arrives, it tries to trick you into clicking on an attachment or clicking on a link. And so this is where security software and rules like email filtering can dramatically reduce the amount of bad stuff which reaches your users. And obviously you can also use web filtering as well to analyze the links which users are clicking on. There's also behavioral things you can do to analyze what sort of things programs are doing as they run on the computers. We've seen this big scourge of ransomware in recent years. And so you could, for instance, have a program running on your computer which analyzes which files are being opened on your drive. If lots of data files are suddenly being opened on your drive, and some of those files are being encrypted, then that's suspicious behavior. And you might want to start, display an alert then rather than when the next antivirus scan works, because that sort of behavior suggests that there's something malicious which is happening. Might sometimes false alarm. So it's the sort of thing which can be configured to better protect people. But yeah, I think there's lots of safety nets which can be put in place to reduce the threat to people. And I think also we should recognize that most computer users want to do the right thing. And so if you create an environment where they feel comfortable reporting to the IT team, there's something suspicious which has happened, or I don't want to bother you too much, but I just want, if they're welcomed, if they're encouraged to say, yes, we don't care that 99 times out of 100 when you come to us with a question, it turns out that there was nothing to worry about, because we would rather you told us that 1 in 100 times when it is something to worry about. So having a great community, training your staff about these threats, making it applicable and entertaining to them so they're not like, oh, we've got to go through this process again, is really essential to properly defending a company.
Well, thank you. That's really great advice. I think many companies can learn from that. As you mostly see in companies that if you go to someone who have knowledge about it and you ask it too many times, they eventually go like, you again? It's probably nothing. Yeah. Just go away, click on it. It's probably nothing. So leave me alone. I have work to do. Yeah, then they also think, I will not bother him anymore. He's busy. Next time I will click it. He's okay, so I will click it. And then, you have the wrong email and boom, your company is hacked. So, I think it's really great advice, that what you say. Let's go to the next question. I also saw on your Twitter that you are a writer, and you also mentioned it in one of your answers. Are there any books coming out from you, perhaps this year, or perhaps in the future?
No, I've never written a book. I've always thought that a book sounds like it would take an awfully long time to write and might not put enough food on my table. There are some people who are really great at writing books. I was just reading a book by, maybe I've got it behind me here.
Yeah, I see many books though.
Yeah, I can't see the one I meant. But anyway, I was just reading a book by Jeff White, who's a technology journalist here in the UK. And he actually went to Manila and met the guy who wrote the love bug virus. He actually found the guy who wrote the love bug virus, the biggest virus, the I love you virus, which probably the world has ever seen. And great book, and written in a very entertaining and accessible way. But boy, oh boy, it must have been a lot of work to write that book. And
do you remember the name of the book? Now I am interested. Perhaps I want to buy it too.
It's called crime.com.
I will search it.
By Jeff White.
Let me search it.
And I would recommend it. A really great read. If you enjoy podcasts like Darknet Diaries and some of the tales we tell on Smashing Security, then you'll definitely enjoy crime.com. And there's some great books out there. I don't really have the patience to write a book. I'm all about having fun rather than doing hard work, if at all possible. So no, I've never written a book, but what I do is I just blog. But a blog is normally like 500 to 1,000 words. It's something you can rattle off quite quickly, and you can and that's what I'm doing with my blog is a bit like what I do with my Twitter. I'm just being opinionated. I'm just sharing my opinion on something and just shouting like an old man, an angry old man into the darkness about something which has annoyed me. And that's what I do on Twitter, and that's what I do on my blog as well. I don't think anyone wants to buy a book which has that kind of stuff in it.
Well, you never know. Can be interesting. Well, thank you for answering that question. I shared the link from the book that you just mentioned in the chat. So for those who are also curious about the book, check it out. I think it's really an amazing book, as I hear. For the next question, I don't know if it is if it fits you, but do you have any certification yet? And if you do, can you tell us more about the journey you went through the certificate?
I have I passed my cycling proficiency test. So at school, I was verified to be able to ride a bicycle properly. I have no security qualifications or certifications whatsoever. I think when I joined this industry, such things probably didn't exist. I know I look like a fresh-faced young man, but I am actually absolutely ancient. And I quite often feel a fraud because people contact me on Twitter or whatever and say, "Oh, can you give me advice on what degree I should study, or what security qualifications I should get in order to get a job, because I'm really interested in getting into cybersecurity." And this is a career which I fell into completely and utterly by accident, and I have no qualifications whatsoever. And so I feel a fraud giving that kind of advice. So I'm ashamed to say, no, I've got no certificates, I've got no qualifications. I'm amazed you've even invited me here for this interview, because I definitely do not deserve it.
Well, I have my own hackers community, and within my hackers community there are many people who are listening to message security, and they wanted to talk with you and hear your story, how you became the guy from Smashing Security, and that's why you are here with me right now. And also I'm also curious about the voice question that I asked at the beginning. I always thought your voice was pre-recorded or I don't know, changed with some program, but it's nice to hear your voice right now.
So you tell me, what certifications and qualifications do you have?
Currently I have OSCP, OSWE, and CRTP. That's what I have right now. And I have. And those are things that you would recommend to other people? Have they helped you in your career? I can recommend OSCP, of course, for those who want a job in as penetration tester. OSCP is really a certification to go for. But if you do not have that much money for OSCP, then you can always go for E-Layer Security, the junior penetration tester. But I think E-Layer Security has changed their model, I believe. Now you need to pay 4,000 for all courses, and then you also need to pay for the exam. So you pay 4,000 for all courses they have, and then separate for an exam if you want to take the exam. But I don't know for sure. You need to check it out. But OSP is really it's a great exam. It can be
a big investment. It can be a big event. I mean, it may be rewarding to have it, but you've got to be sure that you want to do it.
Yeah, of course. If you're not sure if you want to be a pen tester, then it's a waste of money to go for OSP. Then you can better do Hack the Box or Try Hack Me. Those are free platforms, and you can see there if you like it, and if you don't like it, then I would recommend to do something else till you think, okay, this is what I want. Here is what I go for. But yeah, thank you for answering your question and answering my own question. Now let's go for the next question. Is there something in the past, if you still remember something, that you want to redo, if you have the chance to redo it? Yeah, but will there be anything that you think, this is what I want to redo if I had the chance?
I think I'm not a big one for regret, because what's the point of whipping yourself with a soggy noodle about something that you can't now change? But I think I stayed at... So as I said, I began my career at a company called Dr. Solomon's, and then I went to a company called Sophos, where I worked for, I think, 12 or 13 years. I think I stayed at Sophos for too long. And I think I should have left earlier. So for the last 7 or 8 years, I've been working for myself. So I don't have a boss anymore. I'm just working for me, which is very liberating and enjoyable. And I think I should have made that decision earlier. I think maybe 2 or 3 years earlier than I did. But it was probably fear of the unknown and about leaving a regular paycheck, which prevented me from doing that. Once I made the decision, I was very happy with it, and it worked well. But going solo is not for everybody, and I can respect people who don't make that decision and decide to stay inside a company structure. But for me, I really wanted to see if I could do something myself and be my own boss, and I've enjoyed it a great deal. So I just wish I'd done it earlier.
Well, thank you for answering the question, and I think it's a great answer. I'm also thinking to start my own company, but I have no experience in business or anything, so need to think about it if it really fits me. But it's great to hear that you really enjoy working on your own, and I can imagine, Nate, that it is really nice to do not have a boss watching you the entire time, and you can wake up whenever you want to wake up. So if you have a drink the night before with some friends at the bar, what you say, and you came home at late night, you can just think, okay, I will start a little bit later tomorrow. I'm going to sleep now.
There is more flexibility. I have to say that you imagine that once you start working for yourself, it's going to be wonderful because I can make my own schedule. The truth is, because you do not have a salary, because you are literally, in my case, having to work in order to get that check or have some money coming in at the end of the month, it is an additional pressure on you, and so it's not all plain sailing, and so it can be a challenge in some ways, and you do work jolly hard, and sometimes you work longer hours than if you were working inside a regular company where you know that you're going to get your salary check at the end of the month, however hard you might work, as long as you don't lose your job. But overall, I really enjoy it, and I can't ever imagine going and working for another company again. Well,
thank you for that answer. I think those were the questions that I have to ask. Let's go to the 5 questions of shame, as I mentioned at the beginning. And after those last 5 questions, then the people who are watching can ask you questions. I already see 1 question from the audience. So that will be answered after those 5 questions. Let me open them. So the first question. Which hero would you be? You can choose any hero from movies, strips, comics, whatever you want. You can choose any hero.
Oh, which one would I be?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm a big fan of Doctor Who. So I guess Doctor Who would be the obvious choice for me. I'd be traveling through time and space, fighting off metallic dustbins who threaten to exterminate me. So I guess I'd be a Time Lord. I'd be Doctor Who.
Woo?
Do you not have Doctor Who in the Netherlands?
Yeah, it was a joke. You say Doctor Who, woo. Yeah, of course we know Doctor Who. No.
I like the old ones. I like the ones from the 1960s. So I'm a big fan of like retro television. I'm not as keen on sort of modern television. I really like creaky, old, slow, black and white television. That's how I relax. So yeah, that's my cup of tea.
Mickey Mouse, black white.
Yeah, that kind. There's a certain comfort when you get to my age. You don't want to be challenged too much by things which are edited too fast or too many explosions.
Yeah. Well, thank you for answering that question and the story behind it. Let's go to the second question. If you can choose two parents, which two parents would it be? It can be any parent you want from movies, celebrities. Yeah, well, whichever two parents you want.
Oh my goodness! Again, what an extraordinary question. So I can choose two people to be my parents. Well, aside from my real parents, who did hopefully a fairly decent job bringing me up. Well, it would be hard to say no to having Cleopatra as one of your parents, wouldn't it? That would be rather wonderful to claim. So a father as well. So okay, so we got Cleopatra. It would be obvious to go for Anthony. But the thing is, if you have an absolute superstar, if you have a rock star as your father, you're always going to feel somewhat in his shadow. If my father was Paul McCartney, for instance, your whole life is going to feel something of an underachievement because you're not going to be a Beatle. So I don't know if I want a famous parent. I think I just like someone kind, someone who'd be prepared to sit down with me and play. One of the big loves of my life is chess. Right? I'm not very good at chess, but I adore chess. I'm obsessed with chess, and so just having a dad who would be prepared to sit down with me and play chess anytime I wanted, I can think of nothing better than that. But not be too good, not be a grandmaster.
You still want to beat him?
Yeah, I want to have a chance at least. But yeah, just someone kind, right? I mean I'm a father myself, and I think our job is just to set an example for our children and to be kind, decent, caring, open-minded people. And what more could we want from our parents than that? So, yeah. So whoever it is, let's just make him enjoy chess and be kind and.
Let's choose the world champion chess player.
Yeah, well,
you can never win, but okay.
if they could make me that, yeah, and then my mother's Cleopatra, so that's.
It's a really great combination.
Yeah.
I never see Cleopatra playing chess. I don't think she has the patience for it, because she needs to rule the kingdom. But
so I could say I've beaten Cleopatra at chess. What an amazing thing to boast to girls at parties about. So yeah, I've beaten Cleopatra at chess. That would be.
Hey, do you know? I beat Cleopatra with chess.
Yeah. I know how to woo the ladies with a bit of chess talk. I know that impresses them.
Well, thank you for that answer. Now, let's go to the third question. What would be your weapon of choice? You can again choose any real weapon or a science fiction weapon.
A weapon of choice?
Yeah.
Oh. Has someone? So have you asked these same questions of other people before?
Yeah, I asked them to everyone who's in my show.
Oh my goodness!
I have some people are choosing real weapons that already exist. I have a weapon that shoots cookies at people. I have weapons that shoots keyboards at people, and I had a weapon that shoots hurts to people that they are friendly to each other after they got hit.
So I think the ultimate weapon of all is an uncomfortable pair of shoes. I think if we had a superpower to change someone's shoes to ones which gave them blisters, you could basically stop any army. You could stop James Bond. You could stop any superhero dead in their tracks if every time they walked they had that slight pain. You know when you got brand new shoes?
Yeah.
And it's hurting on the back of your heel. So I think my weapon of choice would be an uncomfortable pair of shoes, which I would make them wear, and I'd be able to defeat anyone with that.
I hope you're right. It sounds really. I don't want to be your enemy situation.
I'm thinking that the superpowers of the world could save an awful lot of money if they destroyed their nuclear arsenals and invested in really uncomfortable shoes. And so the Russians could export to America uncomfortable shoes, and the Americans would be doing the same. This would be a whole new kind of Cold War of bad shoes.
Sure.
Hey, you come from the Netherlands. You know about clogs, right?
Yeah.
I bet they're not very comfortable. I'm getting splinters from one of them.
Yeah, that is. That's not nice. No. we already have those weapons here in the Netherlands. Let's go to the next question. In a game of scissor, paper, and rock, what will be your first choice?
You can't tell somebody that. That's a complete secret. You can't. What's your first choice in scissor, paper, rock? Everybody knows what the correct one is to start with, but I don't think I should use a public medium like this to announce what I'm going to do. Do you want to do it right now? Should we do it right now and see what happens? Yeah?
Yeah, we can do it. I don't know if our...
Right, let's see. Okay, ready?
Do you see me? One, two, three.
Three. You've gone stone. You've gone rock. Oh no, we've both got paper.
Paper.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, there you are. A draw. That feels right.
I had so many people choose rock, so I was thinking you also chose rock, so let me go paper.
Oh, devious. These questions are bonkers. Okay, so you've got one more question. Let's hear it.
One more question. What will be your ultimate hacker name? You are the first person on Earth that can register a hacker name. What will be your ultimate hacker name?
Oh, wouldn't that be fantastic? Because I've often found it absurd, the names that hackers want to be called by. Because it's always like the Dark Avenger, Slarty Bart Fast, Apache Warrior,
Teddy Killer.
They're always like they're all sounding like they're members of the World Wrestling Federation. It's like, come on, guys, get a sense of humour. Because it's just all so macho or dark and all the rest of it. So I think a name like Fluffy Unicorn Lumpy Trousers would be really good.
It's really it will be really annoying to type that name over and over again every time you sign in.
Even better. I'd have a macro for it to save me the time. But even better. Yeah, if it is annoying for other people to write it in every time. But I think it can't be one of these daft macho names because it's all a bit ridiculous, isn't it? You know, all these...
Yeah, I've seen many names with ciphers in it, like 1337, X0448, and I think, if I need to write that name every time I sign in, I'm going crazy. I think, oh... If people ask me what is your Skype name, oh wait, I need to check. Here, copy paste. Here's my Skype name. I don't know it.
There's a guy I sometimes have to talk to on Slack, whose username includes bloody emojis, and so I have to cut and paste these. I'm not going to swear. These emojis in order to connect with him or send a message or whatever it is, and it's just such a bloody pain. It's just like,
perhaps he is doing it on purpose to mess with you. He thinks that Graham guy, I want to hurt him so much, I use emoticons.
It's work. All I can tell him is it's working. It's really annoying me.
Perhaps if he's watching right now, he feels satisfied with knowing that it works.
I'm sure he won't change. I'm sure it's now encouraged him.
Perhaps
I should never have mentioned it.
Perhaps he adds more. Well, those were my 5 questions. Let me check if there are people in the chat who have questions. I see one question. What do you see as the shortcomings in modern antivirus solutions?
the shortcoming is that they don't do what people expect them to do, which is that people expect them to be a complete solution. They expect them to detect all past, present, and future pieces of malware, which they can't do. They mathematically are incapable of doing that. There are also shortcomings in terms of resources, the memory, the hard disk space that they use, and but generally I think there's more benefits than cons of running good antivirus software. Just make sure that you've got a good one. And there are some great independent testing labs who are checking antivirus software and testing them in a variety of ways, really thorough tests. So make sure you've got a good one which is going to protect you well and isn't going to be too inconvenient on your computer, would be my advice. But, there are lots of products out there. Some of them are good. Some of them aren't so good. But generally, generally the quality is a lot better than it was 10 or 20 years ago. I mean, obviously, they're detecting a lot more 10 or 20 years ago, but I'd say it's a more level playing field than it used to be. There used to be a much greater difference in the quality of security software than there is today. Most of them these days are actually pretty close to each other in terms of detection and protection rates.
Well, thank you for answering that question. I hope that answered his question from Terminal Jockey. If there are more questions for the people who are watching right now, if you have questions, it's now the time to ask. The only one 1919 hacker here. Let's wait 10 seconds before we go further. I don't see any questions popping up right now, so I think they don't have any questions. Perhaps they will send you postcards with their questions. I don't know.
Or tweet me. Feel free to tweet me as well. So I'm quite active up on Twitter, and if I'm able to answer questions, I'll be happy to do so.
Yeah, if you want to save money, you can use Twitter. If you don't want to save money, you can send a postcard. You need to do a little bit of OSINT to find his address, but I think you guys know how to do OSINT, so
I'm sure they'll be able to do it. I've got an unusual surname, so I'm probably not that hard to find.
Well, there are still no more questions, so I think those were the questions from the people. So I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk with you, to being here, and I hope you liked the questions and had a great time with me on the stream and with the people who are watching, of course. And I see it's 9 o'clock. In the background on your screen, I see that beautiful clock, so I know it's 9 o'clock, or it's soon 30 past 9. So I wish you a great evening, I think. And with whatever you are going to do right now, I don't know if you have work to do, but wish you fun and good luck, and have a nice evening.
Thank you very much. This has been a real pleasure, and thank you to everybody for tuning in as well. And good luck with your future streams. I hope it goes well. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you for those kind words. And I wish you, of course, good luck with your Smashing Security podcast. I don't think you need it. You have many listeners, so you are really doing a great job. And just keep doing it, and give us more podcasts that we can listen. And some books.
All right. Thank you very much.